This video might actually get taken down because of all the new music. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Hello again, Internet. This is Olin from What I'm Listening To. Today, I am excited to bring you all new music that has come out this year. The last couple months, May through June, have been amazing for music. So much great stuff has come out, and I'm excited to bring you all the music, well, mostly stuff that came out within those months, and a couple of others that came out earlier in the year, but all 2017 albums. There is so much great stuff. I'm so excited to show you guys these. Let's get going. The first one is Chastity Belt's brand new album. My first exposure to this band was from their album Time to Go Home, which Jeff Tweedy on his episode of What's in My Bag bought. And what attracted me mostly to that album was the cover. It just looked so interesting and weird. Then when I heard the album itself, it was really unique. Kind of reminded me of Best Coast, but slightly more hazy and it's not quite shoegaze, but borderline shoegaze. So I'd been listening to that album on and off for years, and once I moved to San Francisco, I had a chance to go see them live, which made me love them even more. And at that live show, they played a lot of the new stuff from this album, so when it finally came out, I had to grab it. Much like the previous album, it's more of the same goodness. This is a great record.
It doesn't feel right.
The next album is the triumphant return of Blink-182's California. I talked about them in some Amoeba and Chill a while ago. This album technically came out last year, but a year after the standard release, the band announced the Deluxe edition, which has a second disc of 11 new songs. So basically, there is the original album and there's more or less a part 2. Initially, I wasn't sure if I was going to get this because I had the first album and I love it to death, but I didn't want to have to go out of my way to buy the first album again just to get the second part. But I had found a used copy of this, so it was significantly cheaper. I sold my old copy and picked it up. Blink's such a great band. I'm overall excited with what they've been doing. I'm hoping that they release more stuff a lot like this, so I'm excited to own California Deluxe.
I'm in deep with this girl, but she's out of her mind. She said, babe, I'm sorry, but I'm crazy tonight. Remember the days we would drink on the train on our way to the show? Chicago, naked record live at the Cabaret Metro.
The next album here is a bit of an obscure release. This is a band called High Plains. I stumbled across this album when browsing through the Misc H section at Amoeba, and what caught my attention was, like a lot of other stuff, the cover. And while I was trying to find information about what the band was, what the album was called, I noticed that this album was released on the Cranky label. So of course, my love of Cranky, I had to check this album out, and I'm really glad I got this one because it was a pleasant surprise. Cranky normally does experimental ambient stuff, and this is full-on ambient, gorgeous record. My new favorite thing these days has been to put on an ambient record while shopping at Amoeba and just for hours and hours perusing and zoning out to whatever I'm listening to. This album has been excellent for doing such a thing, and I'm really happy that I got this one. They're a great band. This is Cinderland. Awesome little release. This next album I've been excited to get since they announced it. This is Alt J's new album, Relaxer. Ever since I heard Alt J's first album, I've been so in love with this band. They are so cool. Their production is incredible. They have such a unique sound. Every album they put out is such an amazing journey and experience from start to finish. The promo for this album was a small clip of the first track, 3WW, which I remember first hearing going, oh my god, I need this record immediately. This is a significantly shorter album compared to their other ones. This one's only 8 tracks. It's a really short but very sweet album. At first, there were a couple songs where I was sort of about. It seemed like they were a little more radio-driven, trying to appeal to a wider audience. But after a couple listens through, I've grown to like it a lot more. It didn't have that kind of mystical experience that I had with the first two albums since it's so short, but it's still really good. The production is awesome, and the visuals for this one are fantastic. So it's a different approach from the band, but it's still very good. It's still them, and they're great, so I'm actually very excited to own this one. The next album is Bigfeetz' newest record. I talked about these guys in the Slightly Country vlog. Steve the roommate introduced these guys to me, and it was great timing that that band came under my radar, and I fell in love with that first album because it was like shortly thereafter, oh hey look, a new album. I've only listened to this album once through, and I can say that it's a little different from the first album. It's still them, it's still good, but just a bit different. The downside to this is there wasn't many acoustic jams that are on this one in comparison to the first one. There are some great highlights in the first album, like the first track, and then Velvet Ring was another favorite of mine. Those just kind of added some dynamics to it. This one's just more of a straight-up rock record. Like I said, still very good, but I do kind of miss the acoustic jams. But that is only from one listen through. I could change my opinion and love that it's just a full-on rock record. I have to listen to it again, but regardless, this is such a good band. I'm so happy that it's finally here, and I'm excited to listen to it again. These last two albums are probably the albums I'm mostly excited about. So the first one here is Planetarium. This is a collaboration between Sufjan Stevens, Nico Muhly, Bryce Dessner from The National, and James McAlister, and they all came together to write, I think there's 15 songs on here, all about space. If you've watched my vlogs, you know that I have a particular love for space music, and I also have a particular love for The National and Sufjan Stevens. So when you have all those things combined to this, you know I'm gonna love this. I can't remember which song it was. They released a promotional single for the album, and when I listened to it, I was just mesmerized and blown away. And since I heard that song, they had released a couple of other singles here and there just to get the hype for the album going, and I refused to listen to anything else by it because I just wanted to hear this in its entirety with no exposure. Just I wanted to be surprised by it. And I'm so happy with this album. It's just such a great record. I am so happy to own this. You guys gotta check this one out. It's so good.
Tell me your name, oh, tell me you're not the name of love. Tell me your name, oh, tell me you're not the face of.
The final album that I'm most excited about is Jeff Tweedy's Together at Last. This album is just Jeff, and he is in his studio at the Loft, and he recorded a bunch of Wilco songs, as well as one Loose Fur and one Golden Smog song, all on acoustic guitar and harmonica here and there. If you've seen my vlogs, you know that Wilco is one of my favorite bands of all time. So of course, with Jeff coming out with a solo record, I was more than excited to get it. The main reason I was excited about this record is there is an acoustic recording of I Am Trying to Break Your Heart on here, and if you've seen their documentary, which is also called I Am Trying to Break Your Heart, at the very beginning of the film, there is a little montage of Jeff riding around in a rainy Chicago, and a acoustic demo of I Am Trying to Break Your Heart is playing, and when I heard that song, I was so in love with it. I actually wanted that recording, and I scoured the internet. I couldn't really find a proper MP3 of it at all, so I kind of chalked it up to being one of those demos that the band probably has archived somewhere, but it wasn't really access to the public. And there have been some acoustic recordings that come out. Typically they're live recordings, but I really just wanted a studio recording. And so when he announced this record and that there was a studio recording that's acoustic of I'm Trying to Break Your Heart, I was sold on the record immediately. But aside from that one song, which is great, the whole album is awesome and beautiful. The day I got this album, I listened to it through, I think 2 or 3 times all the way through, and enjoyed it every single time. It is a very short album. It's a very short but sweet album. I wish there were a little more tracks to make it longer, but standalone, it's great. And I hear that this is just volume 1 of Loft acoustic recordings that Jeff plans to do. So I'm excited if he releases more acoustic recordings, but until then, I'll be listening to this one over and over again. This is a great record, and it's super cozy.
Wanna hold you in the Bible black pre-dawn. You're quite a quiet domino. Bury me now. Take off your band-aid, cause I don't believe in touchdowns. What was I thinking when we said hello?
Alright, internet, that does it for me. Hey, if you have an album or band that you want me to check out, leave a comment down below. I'll check them out, and if I like them, I'll probably show them off on the vlog. So, this is Olin from What I'm Listening To, signing out. Goodbye.